bipartisan basis because many Americans are deeply interested in this issue, and it shouldn't take the potential of non-human origin to bring us together. Additionally, I want to thank the witnesses for coming forward to share your perspectives, your thoughts, and the sightings of UAPs. Unlike other hearings many times in Congress, you're not here to help a political party, but you're here to share information with the American people. And it's not something that is just going on in this administration. It's something that's spanned many administrations. For decades, many Americans have been fascinated by objects mysterious and unexplained, and it's long past time that they got some answers. The American public has a right to learn about technologies of unknown origins, non-human intelligence, and unexplainable phenomena. Those are not the words of a UFO Twitter account, though that is a direct quote from Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, that the American public has a right to learn about technologies of unknown origins, non-human intelligence, and unexplainable phenomena. In an interview with Fox News, recent former Director of National Intelligence John Radcliffe confirmed the U.S. government is aware a lot more sightings of UAPs, and that they have not made that information public. I quote, "There are a lot more sightings that have not been made public," Radcliffe said to Fox News. For me, this hearing is about transparency. We unfortunately live in a time in which many people distrust government and our institutions, and overclassification of information away from the American public or even Congress contributes to today's politics. The American people have regular questions. What are UAPs? How come the media doesn't report more on them? Are they foreign adversaries? Are they U.S. technology? Are they something else? They ask themselves, how come when a Russian jet shoots flares at one of our drones, we have perfect pictures and videos to show the American people and the world, but when it comes to UAPs, nothing? Of course, we must always protect our national security to maintain our superiority, like when stealth helicopters were only rumored to exist but were used in the Osama bin Laden raid in 2011. But we can't allow that to be used as a shield to keep the American people completely in the dark from basic truths. The American people deserve to hear more about special access programs. Congress has a right to know if there's any unsanctioned weapons development, satellite imagery that has not been provided to Congress. Congress created the All-Domain Resolution Office in the NDAA of 2022. In its initial analysis, there are 171 uncharacterized UAP reports, and this is the words from the report, that appear to have demonstrated unusual flight characteristics or performance capabilities. I believe more information is known about the 171 instances. It's time for Congress to reinsert ourselves. I call on our military leaders and intelligence officials to release more information to the American people about UAPs. And to our military leaders, if there's nothing to conceal, let Congress go to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, the Dugway Proving Ground, or even Groom Lake in Nevada. We should have disclosure today. We should have disclosure tomorrow. The time has come. Thank you, Ranking Member.
Thank you, Mr. Moskowitz. And I would.
Our first witness is Lieutenant Ryan Graves. He's the Executive Director of Americans for Safe Aerospace. Lieutenant Graves is also a former U.S. Navy F-18 pilot with his own UAP experience. The next witness, David Grush, is a former senior intelligence officer with the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency and was a senior technical advisor for UAP issues. And finally, retired Navy Commander David Fravor, squadron leader who worked as a naval aviator for 18 years. Mr. Fravor has his own UAP experience known as the TikTok event. I look forward to hearing from all three of you today. Pursuant to Committee Rule 9G, the witnesses will please stand and raise their right hands. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Let the record show that all the witnesses answered in the affirmative. You may be seated. We appreciate you all being here today and look forward to your testimony. I'll remind the witnesses that we have read your written statements and they will appear in full in the hearing record. Please try to limit your oral statements to 5 minutes. As a reminder, please press the button on the microphone in front of you so that it's on and the members can hear you. When you begin to speak, the light in front of you will turn green. After 4 minutes, it'll turn yellow, and the red light, when that comes on, it tells you your 5 minutes have expired. I'll now recognize Mr. Graves for 5 minutes for your opening statement.
Thank you. Chairman Grothman, Ranking Member Garcia, distinguished members of the House Oversight Subcommittee on National Security, Representatives Burchett and Luna. My name is Ryan Fobbs Graves, and I'm a former F-18 pilot with a decade of service in the U.S. Navy, including 2 deployments in Operation Enduring Freedom and Operation Inherent Resolve. I have experienced advanced UAP firsthand, and I'm here to voice the concerns of more than 30 commercial aircrew and military veterans who have confided their similar encounters with me. Today, I would like to highlight 3 critical issues that demand our action. As we convene here, UAP are in our airspace, but they are grossly underreported. These sightings are not rare or isolated, they are routine. Military aircrew and commercial pilots, trained observers whose lives depend on accurate identification, are frequently witnessing these phenomena. The stigma attached to UAP is real and powerful and challenges national security. It silences commercial pilots who fear professional repercussions, discourages witnesses, and is only compounded by recent government claims questioning the credibility of eyewitness testimony. Parts of our government are aware of more about UAP than they let on, but excessive classification practices keep crucial information hidden. Since 2021, all UAP videos are classified as secret or above. This level of secrecy not only impedes our understanding, but fuels speculation and mistrust. In 2014, I was an F-18 Foxtrot pilot in the Navy Fighter Attack Squadron 11, the Red Rippers, and I was stationed at NAS Oceana in Virginia Beach. After upgrades were made to our jet's radar systems, we began detecting unknown objects operating in our airspace. At first, we assumed they were radar errors, but soon we began to correlate the radar tracks with multiple onboard sensors, including infrared systems, eventually through visual ID. During a training mission in Warning Area Whiskey 72, 10 miles off the coast of Virginia Beach, 2 F-18 Super Hornets were split by a UAP. The object, described as a dark gray or a black cube inside of a clear sphere, came within 50 feet of the lead aircraft and was estimated to be 5 to 15 feet in diameter. The mission commander terminated the flight immediately and returned to base. Our squadron submitted a safety report, but there was no official acknowledgement of the incident and no further mechanism to report the sightings. Soon, these encounters became so frequent that aircrew would discuss the risk of UAP as part of their regular pre-flight briefs. Recognizing the need for action and answers, I founded Americans for Safe Aerospace. The organization has since become a haven for UAP witnesses who were previously unspoken due to the absence of a safe intake process. More than 30 witnesses have come forward, and almost 5,000 Americans have joined us in the fight for transparency at safeaerospace.org. The majority of witnesses are commercial pilots at major airlines. Often, they are veterans with decades of flying experience. Pilots are reporting UAP at altitudes that appear above them at 40,000 feet, potentially in low Earth orbit or in the gray zone below the Kármán line, making inexplainable maneuvers like right-hand turns and retrograde orbits or J-hooks. Sometimes these reports are reoccurring, with numerous recent sightings north of Hawaii and in the North Atlantic. Other veterans are also coming forward to us regarding UAP encounters in our airspace and oceans. The most compelling involve observations of UAP by multiple witnesses and sensor systems. I believe these accounts are only scratching the surface, and more will share their experiences once it is safe to do so. In closing, I recognize the skepticism surrounding this topic. If everyone could see the sensor and video data I witnessed, our national conversation would change. I urge us to put aside stigma and address the security and safety issue this topic represents. If UAP are foreign drones, it is an urgent national security problem. If it is something else, it is an issue for science. In either case, unidentified objects are concerned for flight safety. The American people deserve to know what is happening in our skies. It is long overdue. Thank you.
Mr. Rush?
Chairman, ranking members and congressmen, thank you. I'm happy to be here. This is an important issue, and I'm grateful for your time. My name is David Charles Grush. I was an intelligence officer for 14 years, both in the U.S. Air Force, both active duty Air National Guard and Reserve, at the rank of major, and most recently from 2021 to 2023, at the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, NGA, at the GS-15 civilian level, which is the military equivalent of a full bird colonel. I was my agency's co-lead in unidentified anomalous phenomena and transmedium object analysis, as well as reporting to the UAP task force, UAPTF, and eventually, once it was established, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO. I became a whistleblower through a PPD-19 urgent concern filing in May 2022 with the Intelligence Community Inspector General. Following concerning reports from multiple esteemed and credentialed current and former military and intelligence community individuals that the U.S. government is operating with secrecy above congressional oversight with regards to UAPs. My testimony is based on information I've been given by individuals with a long-standing track record of legitimacy and service to this country, many of whom also have shared compelling evidence in the form of photography, official documentation, and classified oral testimony to myself and my various colleagues. I have taken every step I can to corroborate this evidence over a period of 4 years while I was with the UAP Task Force and do my due diligence on the individual sharing it. This is because of these steps, I believe strongly in the importance of bringing this information before you. I am driven by a commitment of both to truth and transparency, rooted in our inherent duty to uphold the United States Constitution and protect the American people. I'm asking Congress to hold our government to this standard and thoroughly investigate these claims. But as I stand here under oath now, I am speaking to the facts as I've been told them. In the U.S. Air Force, in my National Reconnaissance Office, NRO, reservist capacity, I was a member of the UAP Task Force from 2019 to 2021. I served at the NRO Operations Center on the Director's Briefing Staff, which included the coordination of the Presidential Daily Brief and supporting variety of contingency operations, which I was the Reserve Intelligence Division Chief backup. In 2019, the UAP Task Force Director asked me to identify all special access programs and controlled access programs, also known as SAPs and CAPs, we needed to satisfy our congressionally mandated mission, and we were direct report at the time to the DepSecDef. At the time, due to my extensive executive level intelligence support duties, I was cleared to literally all relevant compartments and in a position of extreme trust, both in my military and civilian capacities. I was informed in the course of my official duties of a multi-decade UAP crash retrieval and reverse engineering program, to which I was denied access to those additional read-ons when I requested it. I made the decision, based on the data I collected, to report this information to my superiors and multiple inspectors general, and in effect becoming a whistleblower. As you know, I've suffered retaliation for my decision, but I am hopeful that my actions will ultimately lead to a positive outcome of increased transparency. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer your questions.
Thank you. Commander Faber.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Congressmen, Congresswomen. I want to first thank you for the invitation to speak to the committee on the UAP topic that has been in the news for the past 6 years and seems to be continuing to gain momentum. As you know, my name is David Fravor. I'm a retired commander in the United States Navy. In 2004, I was a commanding officer of Strike Fighter Squadron 41, the world-famous Black Aces. We were attached to Carrier Wing 11, stationed on board the USS Nimitz, and had begun a 2-month workup cycle off the coast of California. On this day, we were scheduled for a 2v2 air-to-air training with the USS Princeton as our control. When we launched off Nimitz, my wingman was joining up. We were told that the training was going to be suspended and we were going to proceed with real-world tasking. As we proceeded to the west, the air controller was counting down the range to an object that we were going to, and we were unaware of what we were going to see when we arrived. The controller had told us that these objects had been observed for over 2 weeks, coming down from over 80,000 feet, rapidly descending to 20,000 feet, hanging out for hours, and then going straight back up. For those who don't realize, above 80,000 feet is space. We arrived at the location at approximately 20,000 feet, and the controller called merge plot, which means that our radar blip was now in the same resolution cell as the contact. As we looked around, we noticed that we saw some whitewater off our right side. It's important to note that the weather on this day was as close to perfect as you could ask for off the coast of San Diego. Clear skies, light winds, calm seas, no whitecaps from waves. So the whitewater stood out in a large blue ocean. All 4 of us, because we were in F-18Fs, so we had pilots and Wizzo in the back seat, Looked down and saw a white tic-tac object with a longitudinal axis pointing north-south and moving very abruptly over the water like a ping-pong ball. There were no rotors, no rotor wash, or any sign of visible control surfaces like wings. As we started clockwise towards the object, my Wizzo and I decided to go down and take a closer look with the other aircraft staying in high cover to observe both us and the tic-tac. We proceeded around the circle about 90 degrees from the start of our descent, and the object suddenly shifted its longitudinal axis, aligned it with my aircraft, and began to climb. We continued down another 270 degrees, nose low, where the tic-tac, or we considered 270 degrees to where, and we went nose low to where the tic-tac would have been. Our altitude at this point was about 15,000 feet, and the tic-tac was about 12,000. As we pulled nose onto the object, within about a half mile of it, it rapidly accelerated in front of us and disappeared. Our wingmen, roughly 8,000 feet above us, lost contact also. We immediately turned back to see where the whitewater was at, and it was gone also. So as we started to turn back towards the east, the controller came up and said, "Sir, you're not going to believe this, but that thing is at your cap point, roughly 60 miles away in less than a minute. You can calculate the speed." We returned to Nimitz. We were taking off our gear. We were talking to one of my crews that was getting ready to launch. We mentioned it to them, and they went out and luckily got the video that you see, that 90-second video. What you don't see is the radar tape that was never released, and we don't know where it's at, of the active jamming that the object put on an APG-73 radar, and I can get into modes later if you're interested. What is shocking to us is that the incident was never investigated. None of my crew were ever questioned. Tapes were never taken, and after a couple days, it turned into a great story with friends. It wasn't until 2009 until Jay Stratton had contacted me to investigate. Unbeknownst to all, he was part of the ATIP program in the Pentagon led by Lou Elizondo. And there was an official report that came out that's now on the internet. Years later, I was contacted by the other pilot, Alex Dietrich, and asked if I'd been contacted, and I said no, but I'm willing to talk. I was contacted by Mr. Elizondo, and we talked for a short period of time, and he said we'd be in contact. A few weeks after that, I was made aware that Lou had left the Pentagon in protest and joined forces with Tom DeLong, Chris Mellon, Steve Justice, and others to form Two Stars Academy, an organization that pressed the issue with leading industry experts and U.S. government officials. They worked with Leslie Keene, who is present today, Ralph Blumenthal, and Helene Cooper to publish the articles in the New York Times 2017 New York Times. And it removed the stigma on the topic of UFOs, which is why we're here today. Those articles open the door for the government and public that cannot be closed. It has led to an interest from our elected officials who are not focused on little green men, but figuring out where these craft are, where they're from, the technology they possess, how do they operate. It also led to the Whistleblower Protection Act and the NDAA. There are multiple witnesses coming forward to say that have firsthand knowledge, and Mr. Grush just covered that. What concerns me is that there's no oversight from our elected officials on anything associated with our government processing or working on craft. Believe it not from this world. This issue is not a full public disclosure that could undermine national security, but it is about ensuring that our system of checks and balances works across all work done in the government using taxpayer funds. Relative to government programs, even unacknowledged WAVE programs have some level of oversight by the appropriate committee members in the House and Senate, and this work that is said to be occurring from whistleblower testimonies should not be exempt. In closing, I would like to say that the tic-tac object we engaged in 2004 was far superior to anything that we had on time, have today, or are looking to develop in the next 10 years. If we in fact have programs that possess this technology, it needs to have oversight from those people that the citizens of this great country elected in office to represent what is best for the United States and best for the citizens. I thank you for your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I know it's very difficult. I'll give you a follow-up on that. Assuming that there are reasons why not all this should be made public, this has been around for a long period of time. Can any of the three of you think of any reason why anything related to UAPs, say 15 years and back, should not be immediately made public?
I think one of it is acknowledging a vulnerability, both from a collection and I'll just say a countermeasure perspective. So it's that we haven't cracked for many years. Yeah.
Even say 20 years back. Is there any reason why, when you go back that far, things shouldn't be made public?
Unless it shows a specific national security vulnerability as it relates to a weakness in a particular defense system.
Oh, okay, Mr. Fravor, the TikTok incident that you were engaged occurred in 2004. What kind of reporting took place after that incident?
None. We had a standard debrief where the backseaters went down to our carrier intel center and briefed what had happened, and that was it. No one else talked to us, and I was in the top 20 in the battle group. No one came. The captain was aware, the admiral was aware, nothing was done.
Did your commanding officers provide any sort of justification?
No, because I was the commanding officer of the
Okay.
squadron, so no.
Was this incident the only UAP event that you encountered while you were a pilot?
Yes, it was.
Okay. This is for any one of you. Based off of each of your experiences and observations, do you believe UAPs pose a potential threat to our national security?
Yes, and here's why. The technology that we faced was far superior than anything that we had, and you could put that anywhere. If you had one, you captured one, you reverse engineered it, you got it to work, you're talking something that can go into space, go someplace, drop down in a matter of seconds, do whatever it wants, and leave, and there's nothing we can do about it. Nothing.
Okay. Either the other, you two?
Well, I would also like to add, from a commercial aviation and military aviation perspective, we deal with uncertainty in our operating space as a matter of our professional actions. Identifying friend from foe is very important to us. And so when we have unidentified targets and we continue to ignore those due to a stigma or a fear of what it could be, that's an opening that our adversaries can take advantage of.
What steps should be taken to better understand and respond to UAP encounters in the interest of national security?
There needs to be a location where this information is centralized for processing, and there needs to be a two-way communication loop so the operators on the front end have a feedback and can get best practices on how to process the information, what to do, and to ensure that their reporting is being listened to. Right now,
okay.
there is not a lot of back and forth.
Mr. Grush, in your complaint to the Intelligence Community Inspector, Inspector General, you claim that you believe information is being hidden. What kind of information do you think was hidden, and do you think it should remain hidden?
Yes, I can speak to that very briefly in unclassified manner. As you know, the preponderance of my complaint was classified to the intelligence communities. Both material acquisition and exploitation activity, also baselining the UAPs, but not sharing it with, intelligence professionals that are actually doing step briefs to pilots, that kind of information. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now we'll go to Mr. Garcia.
Thank you. Again, thank you all for
Shalom, all praises to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, and double honors to the apostles and the elders of great millstone by Shem Rakak Wadash. My name is Chicago from Plain Tables Camp, Philly. Now, there are no UAPs that come from the angels that are going to fly in the Earth's atmosphere and crash, and Esau will be able to reverse engineer. That's not how the technology of the heavens work. All right, any UAPs that crash and they can reverse engineer, are man-made. They're artificial. They're not heavenly. All right. So now you're going to hear them speak in the video after about reverse engineering. You can't reverse engineer the Lord's technology, Yahweh's technology. All right, this is Isaiah 60:8. Who are these that fly as a cloud, as the doves to the windows? In other words, who, well, you read it in Hebrew, it says here, who of these clouds flying or fly as doves to the windows, All right, so you look up in the sky, you see a dove flying. You'll see it kind of far away, or you might see it close up. You'll see it flying. So who are these that fly? These are the angels in their wheels in their various forms. They can shift into any form. Ezekiel saw wheels in the midst of a wheel, and he could see the angel was inside the wheels in the book of Ezekiel. All right. So these that fly in the clouds like doves that we'll see out our windows, all right, are the angels. All right, they don't have, their technology can't be destroyed, corrupted, altered, manipulated. All right, anything that crashes is not from the heavens, from the spirit world. All right. Now, I've heard about technology that the governments are keeping from the average everyday people. that they are testing that technology, and they're blurring the lines between the man-made technology that are above our normal, what we believe is normal technology, and actual angels, wheels within the midst of a wheel. All right, those are two different technologies. All right, one is created by man, and the other is created by Yahweh Shai, the Lord. All right, two totally different technologies, and Yahweh Shai's technology far exceeds the technology that man can ever create. All right, who are these that fly? All right, as a doves to windows. All right, so those are the question. The answer is those are the angels. All right, those are the wheels in the midst of a wheel, or the tic tac that some of these pilots have experienced. They're going maybe to go to Mach, faster than the speed of sound, and then stop at an instant, make maneuvers, turns, no visible signs of propulsion. You can't reverse engineer that. It's not possible. Esau's, you're smart, but you're not that smart. All right. Esau doesn't have the ability to create that technology. So these are the UAPs as described in the Bible. Here's a UAP. When we were in the wilderness of Sinai, Exodus 13:21, and Yahweh went before them by day in a pillar of a cloud. Now this was God with us, which was Yahweh Shai. You had the different the angels, the seraphims with us in the Mount Sinai, in the wilderness of Sinai. That's what it means by the Lord Yahweh was with us, meaning his angels were with us. All right. Namely Yahweh Shai. And the Lord went before them by day in a pillar of a cloud to lead them the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light to go by day and night. He took not away the pillar of the cloud by day, nor the pillar of fire by night from before the people. All right, so this pillar of fire, this is the only description it gives. I'm sure there's a lot more detail than just light appearing. I'm sure there's a dimension. Well, obviously there's a dimension because Moses perceived this, and the people, our ancestors, perceived a shape, a sound, but only here it only gives that it was a pillar of fire. All right, and as you read other scriptures, you'll start giving different shapes. Shapes and sounds. All right, you go to Psalms 18. David experienced this. The armies of Israel experienced this when they were going out to battle. All right. So you bowed Psalms 18th chapter. All right. It says, then, so in my distress I called upon Yahweh, and I cried into my power, and he heard my voice out of his temple, and my cry came before him even into his ears. Then the earth shook and trembled, and the foundations, also the hills, moved and were shaken because he was wroth. There went up a smoke out of his nostrils, and fire out of his mouth devoured coals were kindled by it. All right. So these are the Ezekiel described the wheels, or whatever shape they appeared in, because they can take whatever form they please. All right. Ezekiel saw wheels. Other people, they'll see rectangles. All right. Orbs, spheres. All right. He bowed the heavens also and came down, and darkness was under his feet. All right. He rode upon the cherub, and did fly. Yeah, he did fly upon the wings of the wind. So these were the chariots. All right. Then you had a living creature inside. All right. They can merge, they can separate. All right. These angels, they hide themselves, so you can't figure them out. All right. They can merge together. They can separate. They can act autonomously, as it our perception. He made darkness his secret place. All right. See, his pavilion round about him were dark waters and thick clouds of the skies. All right, and this proves right here. You look up 28:22 and 56:43. 28:22. Yeah, chashak, darkness, obscurity, a secret place, ignorance. All right, this is why it's sometimes difficult to describe what these beings look like and the form, and what's being controlled and who's the controller. You got Shakar, Sathar, they're covering a hiding place, secrecy, hiding place, shelter, secrecy. All right. He made darkness his secret place, his pavilion round about him were dark waters and thick clouds of the skies. All right. Yeah, because the Lord, he's not going to reveal himself completely until the proper time. This is why we don't get close-up images of them. We get them at a distance, and we get certain shapes and sights, all right, until the proper time. And the proper time comes, then it's going to be just like back when our ancestors witnessed these things, when the time of David and the Maccabees, all right, Joshua, Moses, all right. When the enemy comes in like a flood, then these the chariots are going to appear in their glory and protect us. All right. At the brightness that was before him, his thick clouds passed hailstones and coals of fire. All right, because when the chariots come, they can appear in a storm. All right, and they can, as the scriptures say, discomfort our enemies. All right, this is why Esau just doesn't kill all of us. All right, because the Lord will immediately come in with the clouds and the storm, and start beating the shit out of Esau. If Esau would have round us all up and start executing us, this would happen. What David experienced, this would happen. This is why Esau doesn't do this. Because if Esau wanted to bring in his new world order at his proper time, he would just round us up and just kill us. But why Esau can't do that? Why Esau can't round all the Bibles up and burn them? Why he can't round us all up and kill us? Is because immediately he would be met with opposition. And Esau knows this. Esau's a spiritual man. He's not an atheist. All right? That's a lie. When you ever hear these other guys that break down the plans of the Illuminati and all that, and if they say they're atheists, they're lying, or they don't understand. The elite are not atheists. They believe in the spirits. After all, they pray to Satan. They pray to different spirits. How are they atheists? Meaning that they don't believe that any God exists. That's what I mean by atheist. They don't believe that any God or supernatural thing exists. All right. At the brightness, all right. Psalms 18:13. Yahweh also thundered in the heavens, and the highest gave his voice, hailstones and coals of fire. Yeah, he sent out his arrows and scattered them. He shot out lightnings and discomforted them. All right. So you can read the rest of that for yourself. All right. So we're going to go to Matthew. It says Yahweh Shai. All right. So when we see the word Jesus, this is a made-up word. All right. This word comes from a stylized form of Iesus. All right. That's supposed to be an I there. And it's pronounced with the E. Iesus. Well, Iesus. All right. So that's how it's actually supposed to be pronounced. All right. And this word here is not a transliteration of Yahweh Shai. This is a substitute. There's a difference between a transliteration and a substitute. A transliteration would be more acceptable. This is a complete substitute because there is no word in the Greek that is a proper substitute for he deliver. It's like Yahweh means he's present or he exists. There's no Greek or English equivalent. You would just literally have to write he exists in English and then say that's a word, which is not it's not an actual name. That would be like a compound word. All right, so there is no substitute in the Greek for the Lord's name, nor is there a substitute. There's no substitute, in the Greek, nor is there a substitute in English for the Lord's name. So this is a complete. This is a substitution, not a transliteration of the Lord's name. So therefore, it's not the Lord's name. So you can't call upon that name for salvation. All right, you got to know his name in the Hebrew. All right, Yahushua saith unto him, Thou hast said, nevertheless, I say unto you, hereafter shall ye see the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of power and coming in the clouds of heaven. All right, coming in the clouds of heaven. What? That's where the cherubs at, or cherubims, the seraphims. They described in various different ways, or you can say angels or chariots. All right, they all are similar. All right, theopanthic cloud, meaning the God cloud. All right, so this is how the Lord comes. He comes in the clouds. All right, comes in the storms. He hides himself in darkness. All right, because he's not going to reveal until the proper time to see his full glory. You're not going to see his full glory. All right, we're not worthy of that at this moment. We're in the Lord's timetable. When the time is right, then the Lord Yahushua will reveal his glory to whom he wishes. All right. As Paul's experience, I believe, Paul's experience, it shows you that only certain people, I think it was Paul, only certain people can see and hear certain things. All right. So he's only going to reveal himself to, and sound to, and feeling to his elect. All right. So we're going to see different things than what as pursuant to the scriptures, than what the heathen are going to experience. All right. Now, we know they're going to see terrible sights, fearful, dreadful sights. All right. This is, all right, coming to clouds. So we have Revelation 1:7. Behold, he cometh with clouds. Let's start at 6. And hath made us kings and priests unto the power and his Father, to him be glory and dominion forever. Amen. Yeah, kings and priests we have religious rites, ceremonies, and we have slaves and subjects. If you give out orders and commands, you can't be a king if we don't have any subjects. All right? Yahushua, he's the King of Kings and Lord of Lords and the Prince of Princes, and we are his subjects. All right, he's a high priest, so he goes before the Father to offer our forgiveness of sins to the Yahweh. All right, his Father, to give him glory and dominion forever and ever. Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him. All right, when he was on the cross, he was stabbed in the side, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. All right. Look at wail. So he's going to come in those cherubim clouds, theopanthic clouds. The Hebrew tells it about the right. Well, it says it here. Use of the clouds which led the Israelites in the wilderness. Go ahead. Yeah, I know I looked this up before. I ain't looked it up in a while. Here we go. So these are not just regular clouds. These are angels in the chariots, in what we call them chariots. So they have different names. We call them cherubims too. All right. Clouds. They're copto. Cut. Lament, mourn. Wail. Okay, all nations shall wail because of him. Yeah, they're not all going to burn in hell forever. But yeah, some of them are going to be burnt up in fire, and the rest are going into slavery. All right, that completes hell. That's hell. All right. And then they're going to be on farms working and making finished products. That's going to be their hell. All right. Not burning up forever and ever. All right. So we got Maccabees. Second Maccabees, the 10th chapter. And I think this was this streets. This is where they were fighting Antiochus. I saw a Eupator there. All right. All right, so they were in the midst of a battle. All right, now the angels are described as being on horses, wheels in the midst of a wheel. Every writer is going to explain or depict what they're seeing differently, and this is the language that what they used. Like when we see it, we would say the common English shapes. All right, they describe them as horses. All right, or a wheel in the midst of a wheel. All right. It says again, when we see them, we're going to describe them how we see them. Sometimes it's described poetically, and sometimes it's described literally, like they actually see a horse and a rider on it. And sometimes the horse is a wheel in the midst of a wheel, and they're describing it because horses represent power and strength. So the writer is poetically describing it. Either way, they're both accurate. All right. So this is what the writer of the book of Maccabees described it as. All right. But when this is second Maccabees 10 and 29. When the battle waxed strong, there appeared unto the enemies from heaven 5 comely men upon horses. They described them as men, but they weren't men. These were angels upon horses. Now they could have actually been on horses, or they could have been what Ezekiel saw them, the wheels in the midst of the wheels. I mean, I don't have my memory. I'm sure I was back there, but yeah, I'm just going on what's written in the scriptures. With bridles of gold, and 2 of them led the Israelites. All right. And took Maccabeus betwixt them, and covered him on every side weapons, and kept him safe, but shot arrows and lightnings against the enemies. All right. So it was either Ezekiel's wheels shooting fire out, but shot arrows and lightnings against them, or it was angels in the form of men shooting arrows and fires and lightnings against them. All right. So that being confounded with blindness and full of trouble, they were killed. So either one, the Lord can appear to us with Ezekiel's wheels, or the tic-tac, or the orbs of light, and come down, magnify themselves, and protect us. This is how we're going to be protected. All right. And there was slain of footmen 20,500 and 600 horsemen. This is why Esau just don't round us up and kill us and arrest us and bring us up on charges. All right, because if Esau were to do that, this would happen to him. Try to round up all the prophets and cut all our heads off. All right, Esau wouldn't be able to do that. As soon as he would start to round us up, then the Lord Yahweh Shah is gonna move his hand, and he's being controlled by the Lord anyway. So He wants to establish a new world order. That's the Lord's plan, to establish a new world order. So then, as for Timotheus himself, he fled into a very strong hold called Golra, where Coreus was governor. So they besieged the city and took it. All right, and then you go to Second Maccabees, third chapter, goes into the treasurer Heliodorus. All right, so you had a Benjaminite or Benjamite. Was competing with Onias. He had, I guess, he was acting disorderly. He was kept to keep the take care of the temple, our house of worship. And I guess he was falling off, and Onias and him, he basically fired Simon, and he went and betrayed Israel. All right, so, and told him that the treasury in Jerusalem was full of infinite sums of money, so that the multitude of their riches, which did not pertain to the account of the sacrifices, was innumerable, and that it was possible to bring all into the king's hand. Now you got niggards that'll do that. That'll be so mad at you that they want to see your whole organization fucked up. So he sent Heliodorus, the treasurer. All right, that's Heliodorus. This is what happened to Heliodorus. All right. Nevertheless, Heliodorus executed that which was decreed. Now, as he was there present himself, with his guard about the treasury, the Lord of spirits and the Prince of all power caused a great apparition, so that all that presumed to come in with him were astonished at the power of Yahweh, and fainted, and were sore afraid. All right. Let me go back to the 10th, 2nd Maccabees, the 10th chapter first. So this is what happened. Now when Timotheus, whom the Jews had overcome before, when he had gathered a great multitude of foreign forces, meaning mercenaries, and horses out of Asia, not a few, and came as though he would take jewelry by force and arms. But when he drew near, they that were with Maccabeus turned themselves to pray into the power, and sprinkled earth upon their heads, and girded their loins with sackcloth. So he prayed to Yahweh. Maccabees turned themselves to pray unto Yahweh, and sprinkled earth upon their heads. All right. So when Israel prayed, we got protection. Is the point. Pray. So it says, now when the sun drew near, but when the battle waxed strong, there appeared unto the enemies from heaven 5 comely men upon horses with bridles of gold, and 2 of them led the Israelites. All right. So that's the power of prayer. All right. That's why keeping your garments white, we get protection. This is why Esau can't overtake Israel, only because of the Lord's elect, whom the Lord will not allow to be totally destroyed. It's impossible. All right. So the treasury. So the apparitions appeared, for there appeared unto them an horse with a terrible rider upon him. All right. So when we see horse, not talking about a literal horse. Now, it can appear on a horse, but usually when you say horse, it's referring to an angel. All right. In the appearance of a ship of some shape, a sphere, a rectangle, all right, so-called saucer or orb, and an angel inside of various different sizes and shapes. For there appeared unto them an horse with terrible rider upon him, and adorned with a very fair covering. Right? So It could be multicolored. The surface looked very expensive, very gold, silver, jewels, like gems, look very precious and adorned, very attractive. And he ran fiercely and smote Heliodorus with his feet. It's like he smote Heliodorus with his forefeet. And it seemed that he that sat upon the horse had complete harness of gold. All right. So he smote him with his forefeet. All right. So again, this could be an actual angel on the appearance of a horse, or it could be the Ezekiel's wheels, smiting him with one of the weapons. Normally it's fire, some kind of concentrated fire. All right. And as you can see here, it's describing of his young men, so we know the angels came down in human form. They look like men. Wherefore 2 other young men appeared before him, notable in strength, excellent in beauty. So he said, so the angel came down and beat shit down Heliodorus' leg. All right. Moreover, 2 other young men appeared before him, notable in strength, excellent in beauty, and comely in apparel, who stood by him on either side and scourged him continuously and gave him many sore stripes. All right. So the author of Maccabees is describing these angels as 2 young men that came down, started just beating the shit out of them. All right. Now this is why his guard is around him. So that's how fit. Just imagine Mike Tyson, Lennox Lewis, Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder just coming down. It's like wailing on Heliodorus and his guard. It's nothing they could do. They were 20 times bigger, a million times in strength. You know, they can't be hurt. All right, that's who's protecting us. That's who's in a different phase that are around about us. All right, they're right next to us, but we can't see them. This is why Esau won't grind us up and kill us or burn the Bibles up. All right, because if he were to do that, this is exactly what's going to happen. Moreover, 2 other young men appeared before him, notable in strength. Meaning they look strong, excellent in beauty, meaning they were attractive, comely to look upon. All right. They looked like they were in order. Everything was in order from the the top of the head to the bottom of their feet. All right. Everything they had on was beautiful, right in order, decked out in jewels. All right, basically like looking at the Solomon, like looking at a perfect king, arrayed in perfect in beauty, from his the head, the crown of his head to their toes, excellent in beauty and comely in apparel, who stood by him on either side and scourged him continuously and gave him many sore stripes. So imagine all of them boxers and MMA dudes just beating the shit out of Heliodorus, and there's nothing that his guard could do. Remember, his guard was the guard couldn't do nothing. The guards that was around, remember, Heliodorus is a treasurer, so they came down, started beating the shit down Heliodorus' leg, and Heliodorus fell suddenly to the ground and was compassed with great darkness. But they that were with him took him up and put him in a ladder, put him into a litter. All right. So they had to stop beating the shit out of him, move back, and they came in and picked him up. Thus him that lately came with a great train and with all his guard into his treasury, they carried out, being unable to help himself with his weapons, and so that the weapons didn't work. So all Esau's technology won't work against the angels. Won't work whatever form they come in, whether they come in the form of men, like they did here. All right. Right now we in the future. So back then that was say their technology during the day. So they came on horses. So today it's not likely that the Lord is going to come on in the appearance of a horse. He's going to come in the appearance of spaceships, more so like Ezekiel's wheels. All right. Because it's kind of links with modern technology. All right. Back then he appeared like horses. Today it's more likely to appear, in the form of men and in the form of Ezekiel's wheels. All right. Because every time we see the seraphims, the cherubims, we always see them orbs of light, the tic tac. All right. Rectangles. All right. We don't see horses. All right. Thus, him that lately came with a great train and with all his guard into the sanctuary, into the said treasury. All right. That's Israel's treasury. They carried out, being unable to help himself with his weapons, and manifestly they acknowledged the power of Yahweh. All right, so Esau's weapons will not be able to work. This is why Esau will not run us up and kill us, because the angels are protecting us. All right. So it's impossible for Esau to kill us all. He can get some of us, but it's impossible to him to make a great slaughter of the 144,000 and the 1/3. It's impossible. All right, because as soon as Esau moves his hand, the angels are going to move. And they're with us right now, just phase into a different time, all right, or space, so that we can't see them. Or they're on a different wavelength, all right, so our eyes can't see them, but they're all around us. So Esau, you're a coward, all right, and you're reaching for hope. You are a prisoner of hope. Esau is a prisoner of hope because he think he somehow he's going to be successful. His new order is not going to be successful. All right, his weapons, as it is written, will not work. All right, he was not able to help himself. All right, so these UAPs, aerial phenomena, they exist. Esau's just lying about it. You can't reverse engineer heavenly technology. It's impossible. All right, Esau, your earth and ashes. You can only get so far as what the Lord gives you. All right, he lets you do your mock, your different your space shuttles. You can get to a certain atmosphere. I think 80,000 feet. I think he described as space or whatever. All right, but you can't go out into the cosmos. You can't do that. All right, can't make it to the moon. You can't transverse the cosmos, all right, which is our galaxy, or our solar system. All right, you've created fabrications. All right, because the scriptures say if you can search the heavens, then Israel will cease become a nation. So you can't search the heavens. You can only search through a telescope. All right, you can't go there though. You can't traverse the cosmos. All right, you can look into the cosmos with the different telescopes and all that, but you can't get there. All right, why are there no 4K resolution pictures of our planets? Approaching the moon, approaching the sun, approaching these different planets, because Esau's fabricating it all. It's a lie. And the other nations are in on the same lie. All right. So UAPs exist. They are the angels. All right, in their various forms, under various different names and descriptions. All right. So we're going to see them today, and we're going to call them the angels or the chariots of the Lord. That's what we're going to call them when we see them up close. and they're here for our protection, but they're here for the Esau's destruction and for our secure. So hope you edified. Shalom.